GitHub is a big platform that people use to manage code and to share code. Now I've made this new profile called Mathlete and as you can see, the profile is pretty simple. It has popular repositories and a contribution graph. But I want to add some more to it. As you can see on my default profile, I have this readme.md, which has some pretty cool information like badges and stats. Now, how do you make this? Well, if you go to the repositories tab, you can click on this new repository button, and that'll allow you to make a new repository. Now, let's name this the same as our username. I'm going to name it Mathlete but you want to name it the same as your GitHub username. As you can see, GitHub is telling us that it's a special repository that you can add a README to on your GitHub profile. Now, if this isn't showing up, you might want to check the capitalization and spelling of your username. We can leave the description blank, but we want to make sure it's public, and we want to add a README file. Be sure you click this button. Now we can create the repository. As you can see, it already has hi there displayed on the README. And a pretty nice thing is if you go to your profile, you can see hi there showing up. But what if we want to change what it says? Well, we can go to Mathlete or your GitHub repository, and you can click on this pencil icon. The pencil icon allows you to edit the code in GitHub's code editor. Now, we can remove the stuff as it's all comments that GitHub left to give us some tips on what to get started with. Now, the README file is written in a language called Markdown, hence the .md at the end right here. Now, Markdown has a very similar style of programming as HTML, since it's mainly a language used to edit text and how things are displayed. Now, if we search up Markdown syntax over here, you can open this link, Basic Syntax Markdown Guide. And this has a lot of stuff in it. And you can use this stuff to edit your profile. Now, this might be a little bit too much, so let's break this down. As you can see here, we have these three pound signs, but if we go to the preview tab, you can see those pound signs aren't displayed. Now, why is that? Well, the pound signs say that the Markdown is basically a heading tag, or in HTML, an H3 tag. So this tells Markdown that this text should be a little bit bold, a little bit big, which tells the text rendering that, oh, this is a heading tag, we want to focus our attention here. So if we go to basic syntax, you can see in the headings, we have heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, all the way down to 6. So if we go back here, and we change this to one pound sign, and we preview it, you can see it changes it to a much larger font, and then it's basically a H1 tag, or a heading 1 tag. So, let's say hi there. Now, what about if we want to add an About Me section? Well, we can use 2 pound signs, and we can say About Me. Now, as you can see, the About Me is slightly smaller, and it looks quite nice. Because it's a heading, it's slightly smaller, it's like a subheading. Now, in Markdown, if we go to the basic syntax, you can see we can make lists using dashes, I'm pretty sure. Lists. Add line items as numbers followed by periods. Yep, so we can use the dashes to make bullet points. Now, let's say dash, my favorite language is TypeScript. My favorite subject is math. Now, if we go to the preview section, we can see, oh look, there's some bullet points showing up. And that's kind of nice. Now, some other important things are code. You can make code using either one of these backticks or three of these backticks. Now, let's talk about three of the backticks first. So if we use three of the backticks, we can write code inside. Let's say print hello world. And if we go to a preview, you can see it changes it to a code block. Now, yeah, as you can see, I wrote this in Python. So we can add the Python over here, and then it'll allow us to highlight this code in Python text. So if we go to preview, you can see that it highlights the code as it would be in Python syntax. Alright, that's nice. So I showed you how to make a code block, but you might be wondering, there's some other things that we can do to text. Things like making the text italicized, making the text bolded, or just like putting emphasis on the text. So there's different ways of doing that. If we use a single star, and then we type some text, it should be in italics. So a single star on either side of a word makes it italicized. Now if we use two stars, we can make the text bold, as you can see right here. Now, three stars will make it both bold and italicized. As you can see here. So we have italicized, we have bold, and we have italicized and bold. And the fourth option is you can add backticks to either side of a word, and this will make it sort of like a code block as well, but it'll make it in this small rectangle, as you can see here. So these are some pretty nice ways to put emphasis onto text. But as you saw earlier, I was trying to make this on different lines, and they were not going on to different lines. Now, why is that? Well, in Markdown, you have to declare a line break between each line. Now, you can do that with an HTML tag. So what I like to do is I open angle bracket, BR / close angle bracket. And if you go back here, you can see it's on a new line. Now, if we add this behind every single line, we can make line breaks between every single word. Cool. Now, there's only a couple extra things that we need to talk about in Markdown, and there's things such as links. So links you can make by just adding the link. So let's say I want to link my GitHub profile. If I just insert the link right here, it'll already be a link. But this doesn't look that nice. It's not a hyperlink. AKA, I can't really just add alternate text for this. But in Markdown, what you can do, as shown in the basic syntax, you can make the default text and the hyperlink like this. So let's say I want to say my profile. I want to wrap my profile in square brackets, as you can see right here. And after that, I want to wrap the hyperlink in parentheses. And if you go to the preview, you can see I can click on my profile, and it'll lead me to my profile. I want to stay on this page, though. So that's basically it. That's all you really need to know about Markdown to get started editing your About Me or your profile README. And this already looks very nice. You could just get started with this right away, and you can close this video if you want to. Now, after recording this video, I forgot to mention, if you want to save the file, what you can do is you can scroll to the very bottom of the page, and you can click Commit Changes. And this will update the README, and you can go to your profile and see the updated text. But, as you can see in my profile, I actually have a lot more stuff going on. Now, this isn't actually using a lot of Markdown, this is using a lot of HTML. And what's nice about Markdown is you can actually embed HTML directly into the code itself. So if we go to our README in my profile, hold on, it's loading. if I go to my README and I view it raw, you can see I have a lot of HTML code in here. So let's compare this side by side. I'm going to duplicate this tab, and I'm going to take a look at the README. So as you can see here, I have this HTML code, div align equals center and a closing div tag. What this does is it aligns my div to the center. It makes everything center aligned, and it looks nice. So I'm going to do the same thing on my README. I'm going to have div align equals center. Be sure you have the quotation marks and the angle brackets right, and you will also want a closing div tag. Now, if we go to the preview, you won't see anything. That's because we haven't added anything yet. So as you can see here, I have an h1 tag, and I have, hi, I'm MathledeDev. I'm going to write that. And as you can see here, now that text is actually aligned. And if I wrap that in an h1 tag, this is what I was talking about earlier, about how the £1 sign was the h1 tag in HTML. So I can see here, as you can see here, I have this super large text as an h1 tag, div align equals center. That's nice. And then you can take a look at the rest of my raw GitHub profile. I'll leave a link to this in the description. You might be able to just sort through this and just pick out the stuff you like. But what I really like to mention is the badges. So I have these badges, as you can see, OS Linux Distro Arch, DEX Monad, stuff like that. Now, how did I make that? Well, there was this website called shields.io. And if I go there, you can see it has a lot of cool badges on it. And how I made these, well, if you take a look at here, I have these images of source IO badges, Shields.io badges. So let's take a look at this badge real quick. It's the OS Linux badge. Now, as you can see here, basically all the badges start with the URL https image.shields.io/badge. Now, I have these text things separated by dashes. And what this tells Shields.io is that I want to have the first piece of text say OS, the second piece of text say Linux, the color to be E06C75. Now that's just a hex code of the color. I want the style to be flat, and I want the logo to be Linux. Now I can change any of these things to make the shields different. Let's say I want my OS to be Windows. I just change OS-Windows, and as you can see, it updates the shield. And let's say the logo I want to also be Windows. Oh, it makes it Windows now. And then you can do this with a lot of stuff. As you can see here, I have the lang equals TypeScript. That's basically just lang type script, and then logo equals TypeScript. And as you can see here, I have lang equals TypeScript. Now that's how I made the badges on here. And you can basically copy this link and then put it in your README if you want the badge. Now, I also have these cool GitHub README stats. And this is a really cool thing that someone made. It allows you to see your GitHub stats. So if you take a look at my README, I have the stars earned, total commits, total PRs. I also have a language breakdown of my GitHub profile. Now, this is from this GitHub README stats.Versalta app. And if you search that up, it should be the first link right here. And I'll put this in the description if you want. Now, this dude goes into a lot of detail on how his API works and how his badges work, how his stats work. And you can basically follow this to add the badges onto your profile. And that's how I added these badges, how I added these, and I basically wrapped them in A tags, which are link tags that you can use to make hyperlinks. So for instance, if I click on OS Linux, it brings me to linux.org. And that's what I did for every single one of these. Now again, if you want to commit the changes, you just click commit changes, and then it'll show up in your profile. Now that's about it for this video. I hope you found this interesting, and I hope you made a great profile for your GitHub page. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.